This is the Infinite Receiving Podcast, helping conscious leaders like you tap into a wealth of abundance across all areas of your life and business. My name is Susie Ashworth. I am a single mom of 3 and author of the Sunday Times best-selling book, Infinite Receiving: Crack the Code to Conscious Wealth Creation and Finally Manifest Your Dream Life. On this show, I'll be sharing with you how you can upgrade your identity and your reality to create the life that you have been dreaming of. Because you are ready to be an infinite receiver. Hello, you gorgeous human being. It is Susie Ashworth here, and you are listening to the Infinite Receiving Podcast. I am really happy to be in your earbuds today. I want us to have a conversation all about identity. But before we get into that, can I just say I'm very happy about the audio quality of this episode. I am. It's taken a while for us to get here, but we have got here. So if you are somebody that has persisted with me, despite our terrible audio during some of the episodes, I'm very grateful. I'm very, very grateful. Thank you for sticking it out. I'm in a bit of pain. I don't want you to feel sorry for me. It's good pain. I went back in the gym after 3 weeks off for various different reasons. And oh my God, I'm 2 days in and my glutes, my thighs, my back. I want to go into that song. My back, my crack, and my everything hurts. Everything hurts, but it feels good. Anyway, let's talk about identity. I had a really interesting situation with a client in my certification call this week, and she is brand new to the coaching industry. She's using the certification to transition out of her 9-to-5. And one of the things that she was having trouble with was giving herself permission to call herself a coach. And for me, this was not something that we could skate over, because unless she is willing to claim the identity of being a coach before she is a coach, she will never be a coach. And it was really interesting. We had this dance between, I feel comfortable calling myself a helper, but I don't feel comfortable calling myself a coach. I'm not there yet. And it's like, let's just take a step back and work out what it is that we're doing here. Because some people take our coaching certification and they have no intention of building a business as a coach. And if that was this woman's intention, then it would be completely irrelevant. Call yourself a helper. You don't want to get paid. You just want to learn the skills for your own benefit. You just want to be able to, sometimes coach friends informally. You do not need to claim that identity at all. And we quickly established that actually, no, she wants to build a business. She wants to have an audience. She wants to build a platform. And so on hearing that, it's super clear. You can't do that being a helper. As a volunteer, that is not how a business person is made. You have to claim the identity for every expansion and every up level that you desire to take before you are it. It is the key to all transformation. The way that we see ourselves determines the decisions that we make. The way that we see ourselves determines the thoughts that we have. What we will allow ourselves to dream about, to think about, to do about is all predicated on how we see ourselves. And so, again, I'm thinking about a post that I commented on, and the woman said, "Ooh, identity work. I don't like it." And I'm like, for me, it is the foundation of every single thing. If you have a coaching business and you are solving a problem, anybody who is buying into the problem that you're solving is saying, I'm ready to shift my identity into something new. when people have an amazing strategy that you know that works, but they are consistently underperforming, consistently not showing up for themselves, it is because there is a breakdown in how they see themselves and the actions that they are then willing to take being out of alignment with where they're going, and the identity and the actions and the thought processes and the feelings of where it is that they desire to go. They don't believe that that is them, and so they won't take action in alignment with it. You can't skate over it. And what is interesting when I'm thinking about this is that we have unintentional identity shifts, and then we have the intentional ones. The biggest identity shift that has happened for me this year has been related to choosing not to drink alcohol. I am now no longer an alcohol drinker. And it's funny because I would say that up until this point, there's a little bit of hesitation as I say that. Up until this point, so it's now been 7 months, I've kind of been saying, I'm just not drinking alcohol at the moment. I'm just taking it one day at a time, kind of thing. Never say never. And I still don't think that I want to say never, like I'm never going to drink it again. But just in the recording and the voicing of this episode, I realized that I don't think I am going to drink again. I now believe myself to be a non-drinker. That has been an unintentional shift. I was thinking about why it is I made the choice to stop drinking, and I experimented with this quite a bit in 2023. And I think the main reasons are I like myself better when I am not hungover. Believe me, I am a great drunk. Funtime Susie is so amazing to be around. Like a couple of glasses of champagne, maybe a little tequila on the side. I'm great fun. I don't mind myself when I'm drinking alcohol. And I got to the stage in my life where I wasn't ever drinking excessively. I wasn't binge drinking to the state of obliteration by any stretch of the imagination. But who I was the day after I had been drinking, even if it was only a couple, I didn't like. I didn't like how I felt. I didn't like how my brain responded, like the fuzziness, the lack of clarity. And I also think the lack of motivation, like everything was on a go slow, even if I only had a couple of glasses. That wasn't fun for me. And I've always got big plans. There's always stuff that I desire to be doing. All of those plans would go out of the window if I'd had a drink. So that was a big part of just deciding at the beginning of the year that I wasn't going to drink. And I made it easier for myself because I was doing what I was calling the daily devotion, where part of that was not drinking alcohol for 75 days. It was a whole number of things that I'd committed to doing. Now, I didn't complete that challenge in its entirety for 75 days. I think I went to 54, but I didn't start drinking alcohol again. And that felt like an easy decision. I wasn't missing it. There have been 2 or 3 times where I've thought to myself, oh, I would quite like a glass of red wine right now. But I have an app called I Am Sober, which tracks the days. And there is great satisfaction in seeing that I'm on like 192 days without alcohol. The idea of having even a sip of alcohol and that counter having to go right back to day one, that is not appealing to me. That is not sexy. And so on the days where I have felt like it, I just thought to myself, let's just see if you feel like it tomorrow. And if you want it tomorrow, then have it. That feels like it has passed, you know? So I like myself better. I like the way that I see the world better when I'm not drinking. I like my energy better when I am not drinking. And for some people, they're like, yeah, but how did you do that? Especially with my circle of friends at home, our history has always been very much in the pub and drinking together. So what does it mean for those friendships? What does it mean for, how I show up, how comfortable I feel? I had to decide that it was okay. I had to give myself permission that it was okay for me to show up differently. And this is something that throughout the years, there have been moments where I have not felt comfortable not being the old version of myself. I'm really struggling with that. But in this instance, I had to make the decision that it was okay for me to not be 19-year-old Funtime Susie or even 30-year-old Funtime Susie. I could be 45-year-old Funtime Susie without the alcohol. So I had to decide that it was okay for me to show up differently. I also had to be okay with letting some things go. Now, this hasn't been as drastic as what it would be for some people, but that feeling of ease that comes after you've had a couple of drinks when you're with somebody new. I have to say that the thing that first prompted the experimentation with not drinking was how I was showing up on dates. And I was finding myself in situations where, on reflection, if I hadn't had a few drinks, I would have made different choices. And I decided that I'm meeting the love of my life. And the love of my life, this is all coming through on reflection, the love of my life did not need me to grease my wheels with alcohol in order for me to be fun or appealing or attractive to be around. The love of my life is in love with me. So it gets to be okay for me to show up on a date without drinking. This was the thought process then. And this all feeds into the same thing about identity. If I am going to be a match for the greatest love story of my life, then I have to see things differently. I have to see myself differently than what I've seen up until this point, because how I've viewed myself up until this point has got me to where I'm at. It got me the relationship that I had before. If I want a different, expanded, elevated experience of relationship, I get to show up in a different way. And part of that is really being comfortable in my own skin, being accepting of who I am. And alcohol prevents that. So I needed to shift my identity when it came to how I viewed myself on dates, my palatability, my likability, my attractiveness. I had to see myself as super attractive, super fun, super engaging without the alcohol. So I had to be willing to let go of the story that I was only fun if I'd had a few drinks. Could I allow myself to be fun without alcohol? Could I notice where I was fun? Would it mean that I would have to get better at listening? Would it mean that I would have to get better at storytelling? Maybe. Maybe I was good at those things anyway. And the story that I needed to let go of is that I wasn't. The point here is that when we are shifting our identity, when we are transforming into an expanded version of ourselves that is creating new results, we have to be willing to let go of some things. So being okay to show up differently and being willing to let go of some things are important when it comes to shifting your identity. And again, it's only in the recording of this podcast that I realized that we can have these unintentional upgrades that start very gradually. So really, this initially started with me being like, I want to meet the love of my life and I want them to be okay with me not drinking. So I need to be okay with me not drinking. And those experimental times shifted into the beginning of this year, just being like, and it is out. A byproduct of that has been me getting more into my health and fitness rather than just talking about it, but being the type of person who is moving my body twice a day, is drinking more water, could definitely be drinking more right now, but is drinking more water, is getting more sleep. All of these things have been a knock-on effect of me choosing not to drink. So identity upgrades can happen gradually and kind of be contagious, or intentionally. And this is when we are deciding that we're ready for a quantum leap. We're ready to change things drastically, whether this be in our relationships, whether this be in our businesses. And when we are doing it intentionally, we have to be willing to claim the identity of the thing that we desire before we are it. The reason I share all of the story about the drinking is because I didn't really claim it. It was like, I am doing this for this challenge and we'll see how it goes. And never say never, but we'll just see how it goes. Kind of dipping my toe in. When we are saying that we're ready for a quantum leap, there's no dipping your toe in. You are claiming who it is that you are becoming before you are it. And the biggest problem that we have with this is the idea that we're lying. And it's why most people are not seeing the type of rapid and significant change that is absolutely available to everybody, because they want to hedge their bets, because they're not 100% certain that they're ready for it. They're not 100% certain that they can actually do it. So it's a little toe in. The reality is that you are not lying. You know, from a quantum physics perspective, there are multiple versions. There are an infinite number of versions of you that are already in existence. And for sure, the moment that you have an idea about what it is that you want to create, that version of you energetically already exists in the field of infinite potential. And I could do a whole podcast episode on this. I'm sure I will do. I've recently spoken about this in the Devotion channel, which if you are a member of the Members Club, I do go into detail about how we manifest and how by simply having a thought, you have created that possibility in the field. And that isn't woo-woo. That is what we've learned through the study of waves and particles and energy. If you want to go deeper into that, I suggest you look at, just Google observer effect. And this is what I am talking about when I say that you're not lying. That version of you exists. The moment that you have the thought, that version of you exists. So if that's true, our job is to close the gap between the version of you that exists in infinite potential and the version of you that is living your life here in the 3D. So how do we do that? We do that by how we think, how we feel, and how we act. It is simple. We collapse time by looking at how we think, how we feel, and how we act. And actually, the feeling piece is the most important piece. Joe Dispenza talks about this when he outlines manifestation, and they have done certain experiments where you have people thinking about a transformation, and they did it with DNA, thinking about unraveling the DNA strands doesn't unravel the DNA strands. Feeling positive about the DNA strands doesn't change anything. But thinking intentionally and feeling the satisfaction of knowing that the DNA strands are going to unravels the DNA strands. Isn't that wild? So often we think about the thing that we want and wonder why it is not happening, why it's not coming into our reality. When instead what we want to be doing is thinking from and feeling from the knowing that that version of us already exists and has already achieved, has already created what it is that we desire to create. So for example, if you are wanting to double the amount of revenue that you have in your business on a weekly, monthly, yearly, doesn't matter. You just want to double your revenue. Your job is to know that when you have had the thought of doubling your revenue, that would be cool, that there is a version of you that has already done that in the universal field. Fantastic. It's already done. So your job then is to then use your imagination to feel how it feels having achieved what it is that you desire. How does it feel to have doubled your revenue? It feels exciting. It feels relieving. It feels relaxing. It feels energizing. I'm so excited because it represents all of the people that I've helped. I feel excited because I get to share my success. I get to share the blueprint of how I did it with friends, with family. I feel a real sense of pride. I feel excited about what's next. There's a part of me that wants to say that I can't believe it, but of course I believe it. I'm earning 200,000 a year. That is me. I'm a 7-figure entrepreneur. That is me. I did it. Of course. Feeling those feelings, being able to imagine what it feels like. And then the next most important piece is to take action from that feeling of knowing that it is already done. So the woman who was like, I don't know if I can call myself a coach. You have to be willing to call yourself a coach. And you get to imagine what it feels like having coached your first 10 paying clients, or your first paying client, but your first 10 paying clients, how it feels to know that you have helped them. How does it feel in your body? It feels expansive. It feels spacious. Seeing their faces and how satisfied they feel and how excited they feel about the journey that they are embarking on. Being able to receive text saying, I've done this, I've created that, I've changed this, I'm happy in my marriage, I've made £5,000, I've left my job. God, it feels so good. And I'm so grateful to the version of me who said yes to this certification, who said yes to becoming a coach. That feels amazing. From that place, you take action. From that place of knowing that it is done. From that place of knowing that that is who you are. And the better you become at being able to feel that in your body and take action from that place, the quicker you will collapse time and accelerate the speed at receiving that which you desire. But you can't manifest, you can't quantum leap, you can't create until you are willing to claim the identity, because the new identity, you think differently, you feel differently, you see the world differently, you make different decisions. If you are going around and around in circles, it is because you are still approaching things from your old identity. You're still looking at life, looking at business in the way that you have always looked at it. You've got to be willing to do something different, and you will only be willing to do something different once you have decided that what you are creating is inevitable, because it is literally already done. It's taken me a little bit to get this podcast out, but the best things come to those who wait. I really hope that you have loved this, and I really hope that I have planted some seeds, some food for thought when it comes to your next step. What are you willing to do differently? Where are you not claiming the identity? And where are you not feeling that feeling of appreciation, gratitude, satisfaction? Those are all things that you can start working on now. And if you want some help with this, you're ready to make a big leap. You're ready to, take your business to multiple six figures. You're ready to up-level your coaching so that you can speak from a place of power on this, not only because you're doing it yourself, but you want to be able to guide clients through the start of transformation. Well, through the entire process of transformation, which starts with identity. Hit me up in the DMs. Hit me up with the word change and let me know what it is that you desire to work on. Yeah, we can see if I and my beautiful team can support you. If this has been a useful episode for you, please pass this on to a friend and tag me on socials. Let me know what your big takeaway was. That would be amazing. And in the meantime, please remember that faith plus action equals miracles.
Thank you for listening to Infinite Receiving with me, Susie Ashworth. I'd love to share with you my Infinite Receiving activation audio. Go to susieashworth.com/activate infinite receiving.